The vets, Mike. Here are some veteran options that Evan Grant suggests could replace Chris Woodward.
Okay.
Bruce Bochy. That name we've heard very consistently.
I would love that. I think that would be a guy who just came off of a dynasty of the San Francisco Giants, winning 3 championships. It'll be interesting if he wants this job. I mean, he retired from the Giants just a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What Gabe Kapler's been there just a few years is, I mean, I hope he would say yes to this, but then there's part of me that says, the Angels are in this situation too. The Angels fired Madden, and I don't know where they're going to go. It's not like they hired a manager long-term after they fired him, months ago. So you look at kind of different jobs, different opportunities. Detroit Tigers could be one. I hope not, but I mean, my buddy AJ Hinch is probably in a bad situation there with the general manager who hired him, who just got fired. Usually the next thing is you get a new general manager. The new general manager gets a new manager. So it'll be interesting. I do like Bruce Bochy. I think that would be a good hire. I wonder the convincing of Chris Young to get Bochy to get out of retirement. He's collecting pension.
Yeah.
The dude has 10 years of service, so he's getting approximately, less than this, but approximately $200,000 a year off of his baseball pension right now.
This one, I think Jared, not a huge fan of, but he turns 69 next year.
Nice.
Joe Madden.
Joe Madden drives me insane with watching infield in or not infield in he was the guy who did intentionally walk Corey Seager early this year. Some of his moves make no analytical sense, and they also make no sense. So I think Joe Madden, I get his resume. If he's not in, then I'm assuming he's a borderline Hall of Fame manager.
Okay.
But at this point, I don't really like some of the things that he does on the field. I'm not saying if we hire Matt, I'm going to be like, what a horrible mistake. But I just go, man, like there's decisions he makes, infield in or infield back, different type of things where you're just like, that doesn't make any sense what's going on right now. But he is a veteran guy that I think that a lot of the players in that room would say, hey, man, we need to do what he says because this guy has skins on the wall.
I think this is again from Evan Grant's list. It was very connected. He was the guy that did post the story first. It was wild that he had that story written already. Ron Washington.
What are you trying to say?
Ron Washington. Well, he was prepared for it. Sometimes
you're trying to say that he was in on the job?
No, you write stories beforehand just in case something happens. Ron Washington, though.
This would be awesome. I think he can still be a great manager in this game. I think that he demands accountability. When you don't know how many outs there are, we might not see it on television. Here's the deal. I mean, Ron is professional enough. I think one time I saw him lose it with a player and it was caught on camera. And that was when Josh Hamilton missed the pop-up in Oakland.
Yep.
And he was just sick of it. He was sick of, that was a championship team led by Josh Hamilton in 2012. And it was like Josh had just lost it. As in like he was not interested anymore at playing baseball the rest of that season. And finally, Ron, who would take guys into his room after a game or before the next game and talk to those guys and let them know, you got to pick this up. That was really the only time. So for me, I would love Ron Washington. I think the fan base would love Ron Washington to be the manager again. He did a very good job of holding those early Texas Ranger teams accountable, 07, 08, 09, and then it ended up being, I think 2009, if I have it right, you won 87 games. Then 2010, you're in the World Series. I think he knows what it takes to win. The one thing is, when he took over, there was already a Michael Young and Ian Kinsler, and really quickly, I believe it was his first year, I can't remember, that Josh Hamilton was there, and he was able to handle Josh Hamilton, him and I forget the guy's last name, but I mean, they had that kind of babysitter that Josh needed. Is you wouldn't be having that type of team yet, but I think that Ron would be an unbelievable guy that the fan base, I think for the most part, loves. I think he really knows the game, and I think he'd put a good staff around him too.
Yeah, and when it comes to knowing the fundamentals, like that dude practices the fundamentals, the grind every day.
He had all-stars practicing fundamentals before the All-Star game.
How do you only can do that if you have the respect of the players.
Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
That weren't former, players of his. He's like, hey, come here. I've watched you play against us, I'm sure. And he's like, let me show you. If I watch this and do this, and if you do this drill, you'll get to be a better player. Like, he cares so much about getting the players better.
A couple other names here, and you can hit these real quick, Mike. Tony Beasley and Michael Young.
Michael Young, I can't imagine there's probably, I don't know. I'm going to guess Michael Young doesn't even want to interview for this job at all.
Okay.
I just don't think he wants that responsibility at all. But I get how I would love for him to be a candidate. He's never coached before yet. I know he's part of the organization. I just don't think he wants that everyday grind of a job.
Yeah, and then Beasley, I'm very interested to see what his connection was with them, and other than he was weird with Banny. And then, he's continued to be around. I think
he's more of an organizational guy, and at this point, they don't want that. Okay. He has to fill in. I don't think the Rangers are – I don't know this. I could be wrong. I don't think the Rangers are really going to consider Tony Beasley as the next manager, but I think he could be a carryover onto the next person's staff, if that makes sense. Like if Bochy or Ron Washington or Madden – or I've heard about Mike Scioscia. I don't know if he's on this list or not.
Now, the next person is Joe Espada, Dusty Baker's bench coach in Houston. He's 46. He interviewed for the Rangers job when they hired Woodward.
Okay.
He also interviewed for a Cubs job that eventually went to David Ross. All he's done is continue to go to the postseason with Houston while the Rangers and Cubs have been in rebuild cycles.
And that's one that our friend in here, Carter, liked in part because he was not on that 17 staff. So, he might not come with all of the animosity that might be there for the Astros. And like you mentioned, been on a whole bunch of playoff staffs.
And then Matt Cortero, the Tampa Bay Rays, he's with them. The Rangers, I guess, interviewed Kevin Cash, who's now the Rays manager, before they hired Banny. And if they can't have Cash, his bench coach would be an option. He's 47 years old.
I'm going to be honest here. I don't want to bring over a Tampa Bay Ray because they do way too much analytic crap that makes no sense and loses games eventually. Now, they do win quite a bit, but they have a lot of developed talent. They're winning a lot on talent. I think they actually do make managerial mistakes there, like taking out Blake Snell in Game 6 of the World Series because analytics said do it, and Mookie Betts said, thank God you did it. Now we're winning the World Series. And I don't know how much feel they actually have for the game in Tampa Bay. They're literally going off of piece of a paper when I watch them do things. And look, as long as you have the talent, just let a piece of paper manage the team. But I don't want a piece of paper managing this team.
I agree.
And that being said, this is a person that I would like who's not on that list. He got interviewed last time. He is here in the Metroplex during the offseason is Sandy Alomar Jr.
I like Sandy Alomar Jr.
Sandy Alomar Jr. is a genius when it comes to this game. Maybe teams don't feel like he has the leadership capabilities. He's the first base coach for the Cleveland Guardians. He's there with Terry Francona. What a great guy to be under for a while. Obviously an all-star player, a catcher. Catchers are usually really good at being managers overall.